Okay, this is guidance for 1.4, building the world. 1.4 has two parts. You have to create the sentence file, and you also have to build a world. It's just like 1.2 and 3 combined. So the first part, I'll just guide you through. It should be pretty straightforward, but it says in the sentences, if you notice on the left for the sentences I have, the first one is A is a cube, and you have to translate that into our language. So on the right side, in your sentence area, you click on cube, and then you click A, and then so on and so forth. You translate each of those sentences. Remember to check them with the grade grinder to see if you got them right. That should be pretty easy. There's 12 total. And then now the slightly more difficult part, you build the world, which I'll take you through. Remember, I have the audio file, and I also have picture files that accompany the written lectures. That should be your primary material for working these problems. The videos are supplements to help you out, but the best practice you guys can get to help prepare you guys for the concepts and especially for the exams, the midterm and the final, is to work the problems as laid out in the lecture with their audio files and picture files. Again, use the videos, but don't use them exclusively. Okay, so here we go. The first one says A is a cube, so I just click on shape, get an uh, oh, okay, there we go. A little slow. So the first one was, and if you want to drop objects off, you just click and drop them off. The first one was a cube. We call it A, so I label it A. The second one says B is smaller than A, so I need to create a second object, call it B. It has to be smaller than A. That means A has to be something larger. You have options. It could be medium or large. We don't know. So let's make it medium. You have to keep in mind these things. That's part of what logic is doing. It's exercising your memory, and then you have to sort of keep that in mind as you move on. As I said before, it's an exercise. You can think of it as sort of lifting weights with the brain. So it's an exercise of the mind. 3 says C is between A and D. So I have A, but I don't have a C and I don't have a D. So I need objects. I need two of them. One called C, the other one called D. And C has to be between A and D, which it just so happens the way I've done it that C is between A and D. We might have to rearrange this later. 4, D is large. Okay, there's D. I highlighted it. You notice it's blacked out up here. You cannot make it large. That's not a problem with the program. This is covered in the lecture as well and the audio file. But large objects overflow the space next to them, so you have to rearrange the world and take that into account. Because they're large, they take up those spaces around them. You can't put objects next to them. So you just move things around and then adjust accordingly. Okay, 5, E is larger than A. I don't have an E, so I create a new object, call it E. And is it larger than A? No. A is right there. I happen to make it medium. If E is larger than A, and I had made A large, remember, up here, B was smaller than A, number 2. B was smaller than A. B is smaller than A, right? So I happen to make A medium. If I had made it large, I would not be able to make E larger than A. So A is now forced, given that past information, to be medium. E is large. There's no option. That's part of what logic's doing. You're working through information and figuring out what needs to be in place. If any of you play Sudoku, Sudoku is just applied logic. Okay, 6. B is a tet. So there's B. Make it into a tetrahedron. 7. E is a dodeca. There's E. So it has to be a dodeca. 8. E is to the right of B. So we would just move it somewhere to the right like that. We might have to rearrange this as we go along. We're just playing with it right now. 9. A is smaller than E. A is already smaller than E because it's the inverse of what they had in 5. E is larger than A. So that's already going to be true. 10. D is in back of A. D is in back of A. Okay, so D and A are in the same row right now. If I moved it back like that, you'd be, okay, that's great. But if you checked your answers for the sentences that you have, you're going to find that this upsets one of the earlier pieces of information that you had. The earlier piece of information you had was number 3. C is between A and D. C, right there, is between A and D, but it's no longer the case that C is between A and D because you move D back. So the only two possible configurations you have left are either C, D, and A are on the diagonal or on the vertical. I'm going to move them on the diagonal so you can see better, but either one works fine. So let me rearrange things. So let's put that there on the black, C right there, and now we have C being between A and D, but according to 10, D is in back of A, and we're good. And all three are on the diagonal, so we're good. 11, B is in the same row as D, so we have to move B back there to be in the same row. And 12, B is the same size as C. That's already true because they both happen to be small. And there it is right there. There's one way to do your world such that all of 1 through 12 are true. You should check it doing verify to find that all of them are true in your relative to your sentences. You then go to Tarski's world, file, and if you remember the saving procedure, you save this as, so you have to save your sentences as, and then you also have to save sentences as sentences 1.4. Make sure you save your sentences as a sentence file, and then save your world as a world file, world 1.4. Alright, that's it for 1.4. Remember to turn in your completed package as one complete package to me, but before doing so, remember to turn it into the grade grinder to just yourself, check your work, make corrections as needed. You can go back as many times as you would need to correct. Make sure you get the 75% right, get the 2 points. That pattern is what we're going to be doing for the rest of the semester. This first homework is really all about getting familiar with the software, turning it in, how to organize yourself with the materials and so forth, yeah? Okay, keep at it.